Greetings, fellow lords and ladies. We're look at Game of Thrones Season 5 Negatives with the episode Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken. So, beginning in Bravos, Arya continues her training with the Faceless Men. She cleans the corpse methodically, which is then taken away by two men. Arya is obviously curious about what is on the other side of the door through which the corpse was taken. Arya is about to walk through the door when the waif obstructs her path and latches the door. Arya wants to know what happens to the bodies she scrubs clean, but the waif tells her that she will know when the time is right. Frustrated at the lack of answers, Arya demands to play the game of faces. The waif tells her that Arya has already tried playing the game but failed. She again asks Arya who she is, to which Arya plays that she is no one. The waif simply tells Arya to get back to work and is about to walk away, and Arya asks her who she is. The waif tells Arya a story about how she was the only daughter of a widowed lord who remarried, producing another daughter. Her stepmother, in order to secure her own daughter's future, tried to poison her. The waif found out about this and sought the help of the Faceless Men to exact her revenge. The waif then asks Arya whether she believed the story, surprising Arya. When Arya doesn't respond, embarrassed as she bought the waif's story, the waif tells her to get back to work, hinting to Arya that to pass the game of faces, Arya must be able to lie convincingly. Later, when Arya is asleep, Jaqen comes to test Arya again. This time, when he asks who Arya is, Arya tells him how she came to join the Faceless Men, trying to slip in a few lies into the story. However, Jaqen is able to tell when Arya is lying and hits her with a switch whenever she does. He strikes her repeatedly when she insists she hated the Hound. Before he leaves, he tells her that she's not only lying to him, but to herself as well. A grieving father brings his sickly daughter Agita to the House of Black and White. He explains to Arya that he has been to every healer in Bravos and spent every penny he had. He tells her that his daughter is suffering and needs to find peace. Arya sits beside the girl and tells her a short false story about how she was sick too, but her father brought her here, and when she drank from the temple's well, she was healed. This persuades the sickly girl to drink the poisoned water from the well. The water gives the peace of death the sickly girl, and Arya, having successfully proven that she can lie, is brought to the Hall of Faces, with Jaqen, a great underground chamber that houses thousands of faces. All the faces have been taken from the corpses that the acolytes washed in the temple. The Faceless Man then asks Arya if she is ready to give up who she is to become no one. After a moment of silence, he then says that she's not yet ready to become no one. She's too attached to her past as a Stark, but that she is ready to become someone else. Anyway, in Slaver's Bay. On the western side of Slaver's Bay, Tyrion Lannister and Jorah Mormont are still making their way to Meereen, on the opposite eastern side of the region on foot, after losing their boat passing through the Smoky Sea and the ruins of Old Valyria. Tyrion is annoyed that they didn't find any villages to steal a boat or supplies from as Jorah had hoped, so they're slowly walking and only have berries and roots to eat. The topic of just why Tyrion was even in Volantis comes up, and Tyrion's surprised that Jorah did not ask earlier. He explains that he actually fled from Westeros because he killed his own father, Tywin. He says he did it because his father tried to have him executed for a crime he didn't commit, and then he found his father screwing the woman he loved. Jorah nods, as it seems as likely a motivation for a kinslaying as any. Tyrion then says that despite how miserable Jorah is now, at least he can say that he had a good father. Jorah asks how he could have known his father, Jorah Mormont, but Tyrion explains that he visited the Wall once and met him. He was a great leader who seemed to genuinely care about all of his men, a rare thing in the world. But now as the eulogy for the Night's Watch members goes, the world not see his like again. Jorah shocked to realize he means that his father is dead. Tyrion becomes apologetic and says he thought that Jorah knew already. Jorah asks how he died. Tyrion says he only knows the report he heard, which said that his father led an expedition beyond the Wall, but there was a mutiny, and Jorah was murdered by his own men. Jorah processed this in silent grief, then changed the subject by saying that they have to keep moving. As they walk, Tyrion asks why Jorah would support Daenerys Targaryen, and how she would be any better than any other rulers, or why Westeros would even support her, given that her father was the Mad King. Jorah explains, I never used to believe in such they never used to believe in things like destiny and was very cynical. But after seeing Daenerys emerge from the flames unharmed with the baby dragons, he believes her now. The Iron Throne is hers by right. Tyrion being skeptical that this doesn't automatically mean she'll be a good queen, given that the Targaryens were famous for going insane, just like Daenerys' own father. After spotting a slaver ship in the distance, Jorah pulls Tyrion to the ground. However, the pair has already been spotted before they start hiding, and the slavers emerge from the trees behind them and take them captive. This lead slaver, Malco, returns to return them back to their destination in Volantis. Tyrion, however, manages to successfully persuade him that Jorah is one of the most skilled knights of Westeros, and will fetch a better price being sold to the fighting pits of Meereen, which have just reopened. Though not in the circumstances they hoped, Tyrion and Jorah are once again quickly heading toward Meereen and Queen Daenerys. Anyway, in the Water Gardens, Bronn and Jaime approach the Water Gardens wearing Martell disguises from the soldiers they killed. Bronn wonders what Jaime will do once they get inside and find Myrcella, to which Jaime replies that he likes to improvise. Bronn sarcastically remarks that explains the golden hand. Meanwhile, Alaria and the Sand Snakes are already inside the gardens. Alaria sends him out to abduct Myrcella, telling him to do it for Oberyn. Myrcella is enjoying another stroll with her betrothed, Trystane Martell. Trystane's father, Prince Doran Martell, and his bodyguard, Ario Hotath, watch from above. Doran comments that they look lovely together, but that they don't realize how dangerous their betrothal is, and that Ariel must protect them. Doran asks if Ariel remembers how to use his long axe, and Ariel assures him that he does. Jaime and Bronn infiltrate the water garden and soon come upon Myrcella kissing Trystane. Jaime tries to convince Myrcella to come with him, but Trystane interferes, suspicious of the blood stains on Bronn and Jaime's Dornish robes. When Trystane tries to draw his sword, Bronn quickly knocks him down, to Myrcella's horror. Jaime tries to lead her away, but they are suddenly attacked by the Sand Snakes. Bronn fights against Tyene and Nymeria, while Obara attacks Jaime with her spear, driving him away from Myrcella. Obara orders him to break away from Bronn and take Myrcella prisoner, but Sim tries to pull her away. They're cut off by Ariel and Prince Doran's guards, who surround them and force them all to drop their weapons. Jaime, Bronn, Alaria, and the Sand Snakes are all taken into custody. Anyway, in King's Landing, Peter Baelish arrives at King's Landing and is on his way to meet Cersei. He is confronted by Brother Lancel and some other sparrows. Lancel warns Baelish that they purge King's Landing of its corrupt ways, and the new King's Landing will not tolerate its prostitution business. Baelish dismisses these threats. Cersei, meeting with Baelish, continues to deny her involvement in Loras Tyrell's arrest by the Faith Militant. Baelish is not fooled and warns that House Tyrell will not tolerate this insult. Cersei claims that she is the insulted one since Sir Loras, who has promised to her, prefers the company of men. Cersei then explains why she summoned Baelish. She is suspicious where his loyalties truly lie, and asks him whether she can rely on the Vale to fight for the throne if the time comes. Baelish assures her that young Robin heeds his advice and he will always counsel loyalty to the throne. Baelish reveals that Sansa is back in Winterfell, where Roose Bolton has arranged for her to marry Ramsay. Cersei is infuriated by the Boltons' betrayal. To add fuel to the fire, Baelish adds that marrying the last remaining Stark gives the Boltons a stronger hold over the North and an alliance with the hated Southern House. Baelish counsels patience and suggests letting the Boltons and Stannis fight each other, and when the victors who recover from the battle step in and defeat him. It's just that Cersei's uncle Kevin Lannister muster a force, or if Jaime Lannister lead an army to the north. Cersei contemptuously claims that her uncle doesn't have the courage to lead an army, while Jaime is underway on a sensitive diplomatic mission. Baelish proposes that the soldiers of the Vale could fight instead, but Cersei is unsure of Baelish's ability to lead an army. Baelish convinces her, saying that he lives to serve. All Baelish wants in return is to be named Warden of the North. Cersei agrees to talk to the king about this. Olenna Tyrell returns to King's Landing after learning of her grandson's arrest. Olenna tries to talk to Cersei into releasing Loras. Cersei sticks to her claim that it was the Faith Militant who arrested Loras and she had nothing to do with it. Olenna warns Cersei that her actions have endangered the Lannister-Tyrell alliance. The very alliance that is supplying the capital with food. Cersei informs Olenna that the High Septon has called for a preliminary hearing to determine whether the charges against Dolores have merit and expresses confidence that Dolores will be acquitted. The High Square interrogates Dolores first, who denies accusations against him. It then questions Marjorie, who also denies any knowledge of it. The High Square then calls in Olivar, a character as Dolores' squire, who claims that the accusations against Dolores are in fact true. Olivar also testifies that Marjorie walked in them once, but didn't seem surprised. To support his testimony, Olivar tells the High Square of birthmark Dolores has that is shaped like Dorn, much to Dolores' shock and fury. Deciding that this is more than enough evidence for a holy inquest, the High Sparrow has Dolores arrested. Since Marjorie bore false witness before the gods, she is arrested too. As Marjorie is forcibly dragged away, she calls out for Tommen, who is paralyzed with indecision, while Lena contemptuous regards Cersei's barely contained smug expression. Anyway, finally, at Winterfell, Ramsay is joined by... Finally, at Winterfell, Sansa is joined by Miranda in her room. She offers to help Sansa take a bath, so she is presentable to Ramsay during the wedding. While she is washing Sansa's back, Miranda mentions 3 other girls whom Ramsay had been with, and we ultimately victimized them after a while because they bored him. Seeing through her motives, Sansa startles Miranda by asking how long she has loved Ramsay. She coolly informs Miranda that she is a Stark of Winterfell and will not be intimidated by likes of her, and dismisses her to finish her bath herself, though she is visibly shaken by Miranda's story. Later, when Reek comes to fetch Sansa for the wedding, she refuses to hold his arm, even after he pleads with her to do so, saying that Ramsay will punish him if she doesn't. Sansa coolly asks if he thinks she cares what Ramsay does to him, and strides past him. Then, in front of the godswood, Reek gives Sansa away to Ramsay, while she allows Reek to call himself the Iron Greyjoy during the wedding ceremony, which is officiated by Roose Bolton and attended by many northern lords. Later, when they retreat to the bedroom, Ramsay first interrogates Sansa about her virginity, then orders her to take her clothes off. Reek turns to leave, but Ramsay tells him he must stay, taunting him, "You grew up with her as a girl, and watch her become a woman." Annoyed by Sansa's hesitancy, Ramsay angrily rips open the back of her dress and pushes her face down over the side of the bed. As he unbuckles his clothes, Sansa remains there but begins crying softly. Reek is visibly distraught and begins silently crying himself, as Ramsay proceeds to rape her and forcibly consummate their marriage. Ugh, that is not good. Anyway, so let's take a look at some behind-the-scenes notes about this episode. This episode takes its title from the mod of House Martell of Dorne, Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken, which refers to the fact that Dorne is the only one of the Seven Kingdoms never to be successfully conquered by outsiders. When the Targaryens conquered the rest of the Seven Kingdoms 3 centuries ago, the Dornish were able to resist them by resorting to guerrilla warfare, harassing Targaryen armies in their deserts until they withdrew. Over the years, the Targaryens managed to conquer Dorne, but only temporarily. The Martells only united with the Iron Throne 1 century ago, but through a voluntary marriage alliance on equal terms. This is the 3rd episode, which takes title from the motto of a noble house. Following Winter is Coming, the words of House Stark, and Fire and Blood, the words of House Targaryen. The Night's Watch and the Wall do not appear in this episode, nor do House Baratheon, though Stannis and his followers departed from the Wall last episode. Marine and Daenerys Targaryen do not appear in this episode, though other characters do discuss Stannis and Daenerys. Brienne of Tarth does not appear in this episode. She was last seen in the Winter Town outside of Winterfell Castle. House Greyjoy has not appeared so far this season. This episode marks the first full introduction to Tristan Martell and the reintroduction of Marcella Baratheon after she left King's Landing in Season 2, and the role was requested actress Nell Tiger Free. They both first appeared 4 episodes ago in House of Black and White, but had no significant dialogue. For the first time, this episode also indirectly explains how Marcella has been doing for the past 3 seasons. Back in Season 2, Cersei was outraged that Marcella was being sent away to forge a marriage alliance with Dorne, saying it was selling her like a common whore, just as she was sent away by her father into a miserable marriage to Robert Baratheon. In Season 4, Cersei assumed that Marcella was a glorified prisoner surrounded by enemies, Even though Oberon said she was laughing and playing with his younger daughters in the water gardens. As it so happened, while their match was arranged, while Marcel and Tristan fell madly in love with each other, proverbial star-crossed lovers from rival houses. Marcel's actually Marcel has actually been having a rather enjoyable time in Dorne since she was last seen in season 2. The religion of the old gods of the forest simply had no clergy or priesthood whatsoever, explaining why Roose Bolton officiates the ceremony himself, as he did in the novels. In the faith of the Seven, marriages are officiated by a septon or septa, such as when Tommen and Marjorie married earlier this season. As presented here, the ceremony seems relatively simple, with the bride and groom exchanging brief vows officiated by the groom's father, though it isn't clear if this is a rule, or if Roose happened to be the one to officiate in this instance. Theon wears the same clothes Robb Stark wore during the Red Wedding. The only difference is that Theon doesn't wear Robb's direwolf headpins, as most, if not all, Stark-related symbols of Winterfell have been removed or defaced by the Bolton occupiers, but a pair of cross straps shaping an X, a subtle reference to the Bolton sigil, in which the flayed man is bound to an X-shaped cross. Roose Bolton may have kept some of Robb's belongings following the latter's murder and the desecration of his corpse by the Frey and Bolton retainers. Closer inspection of Sansa's wedding gown reveals that she's actually wearing her mother Catelyn's House Tully Trout sigil pins. She must have found them wherever her mother stored other ones in the castle. In the first novel, Sansa is 11 years old, but she was aged up to be 13 in season 1 of the TV series. Also, time moves more slowly in the TV continuity, at 31 year per TV season, so that about 4 years have passed in season 5, making Sansa around 17-18 years old at this point in the TV series. In the novels, the legal age of majority in Westeros is 16, though girls are often married off younger than this, as with Sansa to Tyrion, if they have flowered already. The TV series has similarly made some comments, which imply that the legal age of majority in the TV version was also increased by 2 years to 18 years old. The show is constantly unclear on its timelines and ages, tend to be muddled as a way for the writers and producers to mitigate whatever controversy may arise for depicting children or teenagers in adult situations. A point brought up between Ramsay and Sansa on their wedding night is the status of her virginity. She tells him the truth, that Tyrion was kind and gentle and that he wouldn't force her to consummate the marriage. It was discussed that his father forced him to marry her. TV first viewers might wonder if Ramsay would have simply able to tell if Sansa was still a virgin when he had sex with her for the first time, breaking her hymen, called a maidenhead in the books. The novelist actually gives some extra cultural background about this. Cersei, around this time, ponders making the accusation that Marjorie isn't a virgin anymore, realizes this would be impossible to prove, because girls from noble families in Westeros spend so much time riding horses for basic transport, almost none of them have intact hymens by the time they marry. Thus, most noble-born girls usually just have to take them at their word that they are virgins. When Miranda's bathing Sansa, she once heard that one of Ramsay's lovers, Violet, who we saw in season 3, was killed by him after she became pregnant. In season 4, Violet was supposed to come back for another scene in which Ramsay flippantly turns on her and kills her with his hunting dogs. Similar to her character, however, actress Stephanie Blacker became pregnant and could not return. Instead, a third character was invented, Tansy, whom Miranda also mentions in this episode, for Ramsay to kill, though as a result of these production issues, the point was a bit lost that Ramsay will gleefully kill any of his loyal servants on a whim. According to Finn Jones, who plays Loras Tyrell, the Sparrow's motives are not religious at all, but using religion as a guise for a power grab. Finn Jones said about the Sparrow's interview that, quote, "It's pauperous but a elitist rule," end quote. Evidence is backed up by the fact that the Faith militant didn't prosecute Oliver for the same crimes they charged Loras with, even though he confessed to all of them. The Faith doesn't normally have the right to hold its own holy inquests. That was one of the powers it lost when the Targaryens disbanded the Faith militant over 2 centuries ago. When Cersei had the Faith militant recreated, she also granted High Sparrow the power to hold holy inquests for such things as adultery and buggery. Oliver, a homosexual prostitute, had witnessed firsthand the Faith militant's homophobia during the second raid In Littlefinger's brothel, when a male client and male prostitute were verbally and physically assaulted by a group of sparrows. Let's assume Oliver struck a deal to testify against his former lover, Loris, in exchange for not being charged for the same crimes. Just as Oliver knows that Loris has a birthmark on an intimate body part, that does not support his testimony. As Loris' squire, as Oliver claims to be, his duties will include dressing and undressing his master, providing plenty of opportunities for him to see Laura naked in a non-sexual context. Loris is like a person flying into a rage, rather than simply laughing off the scar and continuing to deny, is unfortunate. Loris Tyrell is described as the heir to Highgarden. In the novels, Loris and Marjorie actually have two older brothers, Willis and Garland. Marjorie is also the fourth and youngest Tyrell child, but because actress Natalie Dormer is older than Finn Jones, the TV version of Marjorie is officially older. This affects little, due to the male preference inheritance system in all the seven kingdoms except for Dorne. The TV series has been deliberately ambiguous about the status of Willis and Garland. They actually were listed in the HBO family trees in Season 1, but were subsequently omitted, and have never been referred to otherwise. The producers seem to be strongly leaning to the position that they simply don't exist in TV continuity, though they have avoided outright stating this. Similar to how in Season 2 the writers were careful to say that Stannis Baratheon has no sons, because they weren't sure if they would be able to later introduce his daughter Shireen, and wanted to keep their options open. In Season 3's The Climb, Olenna has a long conversation with Tywin, invented for the TV series, which he threatens to name Loras to the Kingsguard, force where all claim to inheritance when they join. The conversation heavily implied that the only Tyrell heirs would be through Loras or Marjorie. If Loras could inherit, they said the Tyrell's only heirs would be Marjorie's Lannister children with Joffrey. This ignores the detail from the novels that even though there are the two sons, there are numerous minor Tyrell cousins. Whatever the case, the dispute between Olenna and Tywin never stated in as many words that Loras and Marjorie have no brothers. Similarly, in this episode he is called the heir to Highgarden, where the writers avoided directly saying that Mace Tyrell has no other sons. If Loras is the heir, that means that he is at least the eldest son in the TV continuity. But there is no room to possibly say that he has younger brothers. Or perhaps Willis could be introduced as a cousin. Even so, for the moment, Willis and Garland do not exist in the TV continuity, and it seems strongly implied that Loras is an only son. Littlefinger's goals remain unclear in the TV series, given that it's heavily condensing the narrative from the books. In the fourth novel, he tells Sansa that he plans to wed her to Harold Hardying, the heir to the Vale. After Robin Arryn dies, he will probably not live to adulthood in view of his poor health. Sansa reminds Littlefinger that she is still married, but he assures that it is no problem. There's no betrothal. The marriage just wait until Cersei is done and Sansa is widowed. And when all the pieces are in place, at the wedding, Sansa will reveal her true identity and will have it all. Harold, the Eyrie, and Winterfell. Littlefinger does not say explicitly if he intends to help Robin die. His actions, however, imply that he does. He orders Maester Coleman to give the child sweet sleep in order to stop his wretched shaking. Coleman does not like the idea and explains to Sansa why it's dangerous, but complies. In any case, Littlefinger cannot have Robin die too soon after his mother's death, proving very suspicious in the eyes of Lord Royce and other lords of the Vale, who love Littlefinger and keep an eye on him. Littlefinger says nothing about Stannis and the Boltons in particular, and the current affairs of the North in general. Therefore, it isn't clear at that point where Stannis is host, whether the Boltons have already come to Winterfell, and how Littlefinger intends to deal with them, if at all. Littlefinger says that his plans will take 4 or 5 years to come to fruition. By then, the Boltons may be long destroyed either by Stannis, who is still alive in the books, or northern houses, and it is impossible to predict who will have possession of Winterfell. Therefore, Littlefinger does not plan any military campaigns at that point, but focuses on the first stage of his plan. Elaine must charm her would-be husband. In the TV series, Littlefinger explains to Sansa that he thinks Stannis will defeat the Boltons. He is an experienced military commander, and the rest of the North will gladly turn the Boltons to aid him. If Stannis wins, he will make Sansa the new ruler of the North. But on the chance that Stannis is killed, she will still be in a position to subvert the Boltons from within. The Boltons were also only willing to risk angering Cersei by marrying Sansa Stark because they are desperate to secure their hold over the north before Stannis' attack. Meaning Sansa couldn't wait to marry Ramsay until after Stannis is defeated. It had to be before their confrontation. In this episode, Littlefinger Arryn tells Cersei about Sansa's marriage, or to humiliate her into granting him permission to lead the Vale's armies to the north to defeat the Boltons. This way he can seize the north without openly turning on the Lannisters, which is what this action is going to mean in the novel version. Either way, the Boltons lose. The complication this introduces is that Cersei specifically demands they present her with Sansa's head. It isn't clear if Littlefinger is outright willing to kill Sansa, given his obsession with her, or if he is just promising that to Cersei's face in order to placate her. In the latter case, it is possible that he intends to fake Sansa's death so he can have her in his possession again. Alternatively, he might just be lying to Cersei's face to buy time. After the Vale's armies secure the north, he might just openly renege on his agreement to kill Sansa, because as in the novels, he considers the Lannisters to be a spent force negotiated to oppose him after he already possesses both the Vale and the north. Given that they are bankrupt, their armies have exhausted, and the challenges they face from the Tyrells, Martells, and Greyjoys. Cersei was going to find out about Littlefinger's betrayal sooner or later. In the novels, it would be sooner, once she heard that the Vale's armies had begun to invade the north, and she would have more time to react against it with Lannister armies. Telling Cersei about Sansa now, but feigning that he was uninvolved, will serve to delay her eventual retaliation. Notice that Lena Tyrell's costume has suddenly changed. Costume designer Michelle Clapton developed the detail that back in seasons 3 and 4, House Tyrell was playing nice with the Lannisters, so instead of wearing bold green and gold colors, the costumes actually used a softer teal color to give them a more gentle appearance. Once Marjorie is officially Tommen's new queen, however, the Tyrells no longer pretend to be getting along with the Lannisters and start openly demanding concessions. As a result, the Tyrells are literally revealing their true colors, and they switch from soft teals to darker greens and are more liberal with the amount of gold fabric they wear. Marjorie has actually been dressing this way for much of the season, but the difference is more obvious with Lena's costume. This is the first episode in which the infamous nickname of Lena Tyrell, the Queen of Thorns, is mentioned on screen. As Lena's carriage is approaching King's Landing, she remarks that you can smell the shit 5 miles away. This is no mere throwaway line. Numerous times in the novels, characters remark on how bad the air in King's Landing smells, how overcrowded and filthy it is. It is a city of 500,000 people, but was quickly constructed as the new Targaryen capital city and grew haphazardly as a boomtown without much careful urban planning, leading to smelly slum districts such as Flea Bottom. As an audiovisual medium, the TV series can often convey smells as well as descriptions in the novels can. Olenna's carriage is accurately depicted as traveling up the Rose Road from the south side of the Blackwater, opposite from King's Landing on the north side. Cersei seen with Olenna in the Tower of the Hand, parallels the scene in Season 3 during which Tywin was handed the king and dismissively met with supplicants. In the episode Valar Dohaeris, Tyrion came to ask him about his inheritance, while Tywin was dismissive of him by continuing to write a letter and only paying half attention to him at first. In the episode, and now his watch is ended, he used the same routine on Cersei when she came to ask about inheriting his legacy, continuing to write her letter. Olenna also came to meet with them there in the climb, but in contrast, Tywin spoke to her directly and even offered her wine, creating a very different atmosphere. In-universe, Olenna herself realizes that Cersei is trying to imitate the intimidation route that Tywin used in these past episodes. Also notes to her face that she is imitating it badly. She should know, given that 3 of the people met with Tywin, Olenna was the one who wasn't totally dominated in the conversation. To begin with, Tywin was shown to actually writing and then sealing real letters. Olenna points out that Cersei's blamed not actually writing anything, just randomly scratching with her pen. Olenna then blatantly points out that Lannisters rely on the Tyrell's support of soldiers, gold, and food now, whereas Tywin would have cultivated several cunning strategies as leverage against his enemies. Cersei's entire plan seems to be just to take petty enjoyment in harassing her own badly needed allies, with no thought to the consequences. Even assuming that Cersei did succeed in lowering the power of the Tyrells at the Holy Inquest, it only drives away allies she desperately needs. As highlighted 2 episodes ago, the Lannisters are bankered, but the Tyrells are their only major remaining source of money, which they can even hope to pay off their massive debts to the Iron Bank of Bravos. They also need Tyrell armies to enforce their rule, particularly now that Stannis Baratheon is mounting a new offensive to free the North from Lannister bolted control. Olympus loved to guess at Cersei's smug self-satisfaction, when in truth she isn't implementing some sort of long-term strategy. As Tywin himself pointed out in And Now His Watch Has Ended, one of Cersei's major flaws is that she thinks she is much smarter than she actually is. This episode marks the debut of the ribald song The Dornishman's Wife. Bronn keeps insisting on getting to the ending. He gets to sing it in the next episode. Viewers have been warned that winter is coming since the Season 1 premiere, and the 10-year-long summer has turned to autumn back at the beginning of Season 2. The end of autumn is indeed finally approaching. In previous episodes, both Stannis and his enemies have pointed out that he will have to march on Winterfell soon, because if he waits a matter of weeks, he will risk getting snowbound at the wall. Cersei says to Littlefinger in this episode that the weather has started to turn. Seasons in the known world that Westeros and Essos are located in can last for years, compared to the months in real life. Tyrion said back in Season 1 that the winter he was born in lasted 3 years, which is considered unusually long. In the past 3 decades or so, there have been 9 winters, including that one. 10-year-long seasons are very rare, usually occurring only once every century. Pycelle said that the recent 10-year-long summer was the longest in living memory. No suggestion on a single season can last over 3 years, not the full 4-season cycle, which is even longer. The seasons are longer in Westeros, but when they turn, it isn't like someone simply flipped a switch and the seasons change without warning. Much like on real life Earth, people tell that a season's course is starting to shift into the next one, though the rate at which this occurs in Westeros can be difficult to determine. While it is not officially winter yet, the weather is starting to get noticeably cooler compared to November in the Northern Hemisphere. It is not tickling winter, but the weather is getting colder. It is known to snow in the north even during summers from time to time. Light dustings called summer snows mentioned in Season 1. In this episode, it's lightly snowing in the north, though this is not very unusual for that location. In contrast, younger people in southern Westeros have never even seen it snow. The Hall of Faces in the House of Black and White in Bravos was actually built as a fully realized set. Instead of making one pillar slightly taller than the actors fill a mass, and then doubling it up digitally, multiple pillars over 30 feet tall were built to fill out the entire room. The production team even invested the time and resources to make fully 600 individualized face masks in the set, each unique and handcrafted. The backstory that the Witch tells Arya about herself doesn't exactly match our backstories given the novels, although it is relatively close. But then again, the Wave does strongly point to Arya that she was lying about several details of her story. Tyrion remarks that Daenerys Targaryen has not spent a single day of her adult life in Westeros. His use of exact phrase is accurate. Daenerys never spent a full day of her adult life in Westeros. She was born on Dragonstone Island at the end of Robert's Rebellion, a few months after her father had died, and the island is considered part of Westeros. A matter of days or weeks later, a hastily assembled rebel fleet was finally advancing on the island, so Olenna fled with the royal children to the free cities. Therefore, Daenerys has absolutely no memories of Dragonstone or Westeros at all. Back in Season 2 with Karth, the Spice King even directly asked if she had ever been in the Seven Kingdoms, and she explained that she left there when she was a baby. It is no empty boast that Jorah is one of the most skilled knights in Westeros. In his youth, it was actually quite a successful tournament knight. This is assuming that the backstory is the same as in the novels. The TV series didn't change it to have Tyrion being facetious. There was no reason to think this. Jorah's tournament victories are how he impressed Lyness Hightower to wed him, though she later left him due to his lack of wealth. The training Lannister part isn't something Tyrion made up on the spot. After the Greyjoy Rebellion ended, King Robert Baratheon held a tournament in celebration of the victory. Jorah himself performed very well during that war and was knighted by Robert himself. Tyrion is also not inventing the detail that Jorah defeated Jaime Lannister that day. He did not horse him, but did break 9 lances against Jaime at the joust, after which the judges declared him the winner. Jaime was one of the best tournament knights alive, but he wasn't invincible. In season 1, the TV show mentioned that Loras also surprisingly managed to defeat him on one occasion. Jorah's passion for Lyness was so great at the tournament that he personally defeated at least 7 men, including Jaime and Lord Jon Royce. As the episode acknowledges, of course, this was when Jorah was much younger, but much like Sir Barristan Selmy, he became a very experienced and skilled fighter. He also mentions how he fought and killed the Dothraki blood rider Kotho back in season 1. Tyrion doesn't tell Jorah that his father is dead in the novels and how he died. During the Battle of the Fist of the First Man, Sam sends 2 messages by ravens to Castle Black in the Shadow Tower, reporting that the raging force is under attack, thus specifying who the attackers are. The defenders of Castle Black, fearing that the raging force has been destroyed by wildlings, send distress messages to all kings and lords of Westeros. Viserys brings one of those messages to the small council, and that way Tyrion is unaware that Jorah Mormont is probably dead, although Mormont is killed later, and not by wildlings but by the mutineers at Craster's Keep. Only after the Loyalists return to Castle Black, around the middle of the book, do they report that Mormont was killed by the mutineers, but the defenders do not send any more reports to the small council. Thus all Tyrion could tell Jorah was that his father was probably dead, killed by wildlings. The third novel is very long, so the TV series split into 2 seasons of material, seasons 3 and 4. The TV series used the Battle for the Wall as the climax of season 4, and it happened at the end of the novel. But due to the way the content was split, both Jon and Sam will returned to Castle Black by the season 3 finale. The result was that the Night's Watch storyline had to be put out in season 4. Because in the novels, the battle occurred very soon after they returned. The equivalent of if the battle happened in the 2nd or 3rd episode of season 4, not episode 9. Sam will show writing letters to all of the High Lords of Westeros in the season 3 finale, warning them that the White Walkers have returned and that Lord Commander Mormont is dead. Only Stannis responded to help. Tyrion is only arrested some weeks afterwards when Joffrey's poisoned at the Purple Wedding. Due to the way the scenes were moved around, therefore, in the TV version, it is entirely plausible that Tyrion actually received news of Jorah Mormont's death from one of Samwell's letters, shortly before Joffrey's wedding, i.e., around the time of the first episode of season 4. Anyway. Michelle Clapton recalled that Sansa's wedding dress caused some production issues on set. It's supposed to be snowing, but the dress was so big and heavy that it acted like a snowplow, clearing a path in the snow. Because the scene was filmed in multiple takes, this would have made it obvious that Sansa walked up and down the aisle multiple times, when in the universe, she was supposed to have walked down the aisle once, more than just footprints in the snow, which possibly the characters might have made before she arrived. Therefore, extra time and energy had to be spent resetting the snow between each take. Moreover, because when they arrived in their wedding chambers, Ramsay rips the back of her dress open, the prop dress was engineered to be easily ripped, sewn with weak cotton thread. This scene was also filmed in multiple takes, so had to be sewn back together between each one. Cersei says that Winterfell is 1,000 miles away. According to Jorah Mormont and Baelor and Yoren in Fire and Blood, the wall is 1,000 leagues away from King's Landing, namely 3,000 miles. Since Winterfell is now located halfway between the wall and the capital, but closer to the wall, it must be more than 1,500 miles away from King's Landing. This is not necessarily a mistake, though. The phrases 1,000 leagues and 1,000 miles are occasionally used in the novels and in the show to indicate figuratively a very long distance. For instance, in the first novel, Cersei tells Ned, while attempting to seduce him, "Your wife is 1,000 leagues away." And now his watch has ended, Beric tells the Hound, "Here you are, 1,000 miles away from home." Interesting. So I think this episode is kind of, well, let's just say good things that happen and bad things that happen. So, yeah. But yeah. So overall, I give Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken 3 Iron Thrones out of 5. Anyway, tune in on Fridays. Wait till the next episode, The Gift. So, until then, remember everyone, winter is coming.